Here we go again. League of Our Own is back ahead of week 3 of the NRL finals. Adam Blair with me as always. Blairy, hope you're well, mate. We're almost at the finish line here.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Goran. It's always to be able to share this time with you, this time of the week, and spread the great word of rugby league. And it's finals footy. There's no other place, or no other place you'd want to be than right now, this time of the year, watching rugby league. And although the Warriors aren't in there, there's still a lot of Kiwi players killing it in the game of rugby league and playing in the finals as well.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll talk about the matchups, Storm against the Sharks, Broncos hosting the Panthers in a moment. But first of all, I want to get your thoughts on a couple of Kiwis. At the Raiders, Canberra Raiders, minor premiers just a number of weeks ago. And then, as they say across the ditch, out in straight sets, 2 home finals at GIO Stadium in Canberra, and they couldn't get the job done against the Broncos and then the Sharks the weekend just gone. Why is Joe Tapine, Seb Chris, Matt Timoko, why are they watching this week instead of playing in it? What went so horribly wrong for Ricky Stuart's side, mate?
Yeah, it was a tough one for the Canberra Raiders, but obviously the most consistent team this year. Obviously why they're minor premiers. The game style, we saw the similar game style round 1 against the Warriors in Vegas, and they continue to do that throughout the year. My only concern going with the Canberra Raiders was, were they going to be able to play that game style for 27 rounds plus finals football and still keep up that intensity and that level of, I guess, aggression and for that many occasions through this final series. And I guess you come up against the best teams when it becomes finals football. You have to be at your best. But to be honest, Goran, I think sometimes you have to have a little bit of X factor or something different that you haven't shown your hands, or you've been coaching for the last 6 weeks before you go into finals, that you're going to put on the table come finals football. You can't just expect that what you've done through the season that's got you there. Yes, it's been consistent. Yes, it's got you to the finals. But when it comes to finals, something else has to click. You have to try and come up with something different that you've coached first. You can't just come up on the day and make it up. You have to have put some structure in place around something else that's going to break the game open. Obviously, losing Ethan Strange, I thought was a huge loss. A huge loss. Being most probably the best 6 in the competition, running. Simasangi was obviously the 6 that was in his place. Not the same player. And when you saw the game, a lot of it was pretty predictable. Fogarty to the ball, kicking all the time, the same person. Didn't really do much more than what he normally does. But on one side, they had someone that wasn't a 6. Yes, Ricky Stuart said he's skillful and he's a competitor and he goes after. There was some glimpses. But you could see a lot of the shifts, they were skipping straight past Simasangi, trying to give early ball to centres. But I thought that's where they may have found themselves, or where they got themselves unstuck. Unfortunately, he pulled up, he was sick. He can't be in the game, which is disappointing because you want the best players on the field. And I think at the end of the day, going between Ethan Strange not being on the field and then them just not turning up to be the best team that they can be, play their game style with a little bit of something else, wasn't enough to beat the side because they were keen to go after. They had 2 home games at GIO Stadium. It's a hard place to go to. Cold. The fans get behind them. They're pretty vocal too. The fans in Canberra.
Ask Reece Walsh, mate.
They let you know.
Yeah.
So they come off a couple of big losses, and I think they just run out of legs in the end.
Yeah, great shame for Ricky Stuart's Canberra Raiders. Maybe finally you'll be able to get in touch with him and have that conversation that you were going to have at the beginning of the season. Did that ever happen throughout the course of the 2025 campaign?
It didn't ever happen. I just got to be careful of Ricky Stuart. He's got a lot of people in his on his side. Got a lot of people on his side, especially in the media. But Ricky, I'm sorry. I just want those boys from All Stars. and
you
to
can
be honest,
start now, mate. Ask him for next season.
If I rattle off just a few players that I'm interested in, just so that when he listens to this podcast,
okay, go.
I need Joseph Tapine.
There's one.
I want Kyle Weeks.
2.
I want Ethan Strange. I want Matt Tamoko. Who else is there? I think those are the main characters that I want out of there.
So you want at least 4.
So I want at least 4. So not as many as every other club, i.e. the Warriors. So I just want 4 of his best players.
Yeah, and it's good that you can ask for Ethan Strange, even though the Kiwis aren't going to get him.
So we won't we obviously won't get Ethan Strange for the Kiwis, but
for the Maori,
Riki, Stuart, I'm sorry, but can I please have Kyle Weeks and Ethan Strange, your captain Joseph Tapine and Matt Tamoko, please?
There we go. So we're going through official channels. We've put it out on the podcast. We'll package this up. We'll make sure that the Raiders hierarchy get it. But look, no Canberra Raiders this weekend. As I said, it's Storm hosting Sharks, and it's the Broncos hosting the Penrith Panthers, looking for 5. Let's focus first of all on the first match, which features the Storm and their perfect spine. They've all been named. Pappenhausen back at fullback, but more importantly for Kiwi Rugby League fans, Jahrome Hughes has been named, out with a fractured wrist or forearm for a number of weeks. Did it in round 27, Blairy. How key is it that he plays this game against the Sharks? Because when you look at the guys that they have in reserve, JONAH PEZET did a great job in week 1 of the finals, guiding the Storm around the park and did a wonderful job with his kicking game. You got Tyron Wishart, who he makes every post a winner. Whenever he plays, I'm so impressed with Wishart. So they've got guys in reserve that can do the job, but they're so close to a grand final, it must be very tempting to wheel out the reigning Dally M medal winner to get into the big dance, eh?
Well, it is the biggest game, Goran, this game, because this game, if you win this game, you're in the big dance. So if you lose, you're out. That's your season done and dusted. You don't get to the big dance. So for me, and I've played in a couple of these games before, this is the most important game. So you want your best players on the field. Miraculously, he's healed, obviously, because they wouldn't put him at risk to do any more damage. He also gets his shoulder to rest as well. I think that'll end up being 3 weeks without playing a game. So 3 weeks is a long time in rugby league, and with round-the-clock physio treatment and doctors at your service and all the tools and recovery methods that they use these days, he's obviously ready to go. He plays a key part to that spine. Obviously, Pappenhausen there, having Jahrome Hughes and Harry Grant, they are key, and obviously Munster as well. Yeah. To have your best spine on the field come this time of the year, playing for the biggest game to get into the big dance, is important for the Melbourne Storm up against, a red-hot Cronulla team that's just been cruising through under the radar, I reckon, too, Goran. No one's really given them a chance, and they've spoken about it and come out in the media and said no one's really given them a chance to win these games that they have. They've been mostly the most consistent team coming into the finals football. A lot of their players are in form, and I reckon they've snuck into these last 4 teams without really having to do too much, because they put a scoreline on the Canberra Raiders, and most of their players are played a key part in their positions. And even, you have, an international back row sitting on the bench, Britain Nikora, who's just sitting on the bench. So to be able to have someone like him at your disposal on the bench and have the guys that have stood up in his time that he had on the sidelines, they're coming in red hot. But again, you think about the Melbourne Storm, primed for this time of the year. They are consistently playing finals football. They know what it takes. They know this is the biggest game. They've got their best players ready to go, and they're going to have come up against they're coming up against a quality Cronulla Sharks team too, Goran.
Yeah, that Sharks bench looks frightening, eh? With Britain Nikora, off the top of my head, it's Hamlin Ueli, Siosifa Talakai, and Oregon Kafusi as well. So that bench, that could be a difference maker. But look, and we'll talk more about it in Betcha. This happens a little bit later on. But the Storm, I feel, might have a little bit too much firepower, especially if Jahrome Hughes plays. Going back to the last time these two sides played each other, it was round 17, and the Storm were convincing winners 30 points to 6. And Jahrome Hughes had his fingerprints all over the game. And it wasn't just Jahrome, it's him in combination with former Warriors back rower Eliesa Katoa, whether it's a short pass out on the right edge or a kick to find Katoa challenging against Will Kennedy. Those two guys, they masterminded that victory. So you insert Jahrome Hughes in this weekend, and it's probably more of the same for the Melbourne Storm.
Goran, I've played in a couple of grand finals and done it a few different ways, where you've played all the way through, you've had a rest and played, and there's no doubt in my mind having the week off, watching everyone else bash themselves against each other, and then maybe teams getting niggly injuries, and then come out for this game, the biggest game I think of the season before the grand final, and to perform at your best on the back of a week's rest. If I think our mindset, I remember back in the past, the mindset was if you just go out there and blow the team off the park in the first 20 minutes, purely because you've been rested, that hopefully you kick on and they just can't stand with you. That's always been the mindset, especially with the Melbourne Storm. Take the game away from them in the first 20 minutes, play fast, play through them, make them try and stop you, and then be able from there, hopefully then the team doesn't want to come and play, because every game's been pretty tough for everyone else that's come there. So the Melbourne Storm will be primed for this. Both teams that are well rested will be primed for this game. And yes, you can say that playing consistent football into this position helps. Yes, it does. But I definitely think playing the other way, having that week off, helps the team that's had the week off well rested. You blow a park off the first 20, 25 minutes, and then they're just chasing their tails, trying to keep up with the energy and the speed of the game that you're going to play at.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we've said previously on this podcast is that the Panthers have been playing finals footy for months on end. You know, they were dead last after, 12 rounds?
12 rounds.
And slowly but surely they have just inched their way into finals contention. And somebody who I want to shine a spotlight on for the Penny Panthers, another Kiwi, is Isaiah Papali'i, the Iceman. Now, back in 2022, he was playing some ridiculously good rugby league for the Parramatta Eels, went to a grand final, and then they got blown away by his current team, the Panthers. The very next year, and for 2 years after that grand final, he took the big money move to the West Tigers. I know somebody who did that, actually. Was that you? Yeah, it was you. Anyway, back to Isaiah. He took the money move to the West Tigers, and over the course of 39 games, he lost 31 of them. That's right. Wow. He only picked up 8 wins in 2 years. Then,
I might have been the same too.
I'll check your stats after we're done, mate. I'll put it up on socials. So, you know, like that's a pretty bitter pill to swallow, right? You go from the heights of a grand final to you're cellar dwelling, you're not winning games. I think he had a serious injury as well, so he was out for a period of time in the second year that he was there at the Tigers. Then he takes the opportunity at the Panthers, lesser money, but a chance to play finals footy. And after 12 rounds, 11 games in, they've only won 3 matches. So he's probably thinking, I'm the common denominator here. I want to get your thoughts on like the mental thought, the process that a player will go through when that is their life. You know, you're a professional footballer, but you're not getting the results on game day, and you change clubs, and the same thing keeps happening.
Man, Goran, it actually reminds, and I remember watching Ice over his journey, especially, obviously, I become good mates with Ice through the Warriors time, and obviously international space too, as I was finishing up. And I was really, I guess, disappointed that the Warriors didn't keep someone like Ice, because I thought Ice was a really good player, coachable, good work ethic, and someone that you could build something around him. So I watch him go to Para, and I enjoy his journey because he starts killing it.
He's carving up, mate.
He's showing, He's showing everyone what he actually can do. And I was, again, disappointed the Warriors didn't get to keep him. And then I watched his journey to the West Tigers. The same, it really reminds me of myself on my journey, Goran. I left, obviously, a really strong club, went to a club that wasn't as strong and competitive, and have to start learning a little bit more about yourself, more so than rugby league, Goran, because there's pressure from the outside. You make a big decision, you got to live and die by your decisions. And he went to the Eels, or went to Tigers, coming off the back of a strong season, being one of the informed back rowers. Obviously got big money to go there. And then maybe the team, I'm not saying the individual, maybe the team didn't live up to the expectations. And in the team of the expectations, individuals don't meet the expectations of the team, or the perception outside that doesn't live up to that. So I'm watching his journey. And I think that's why it reminded a lot about myself, Goran, and how I went through these tough times, but also found myself on the other side. I was lucky. Similar again, I go to the Brisbane Broncos. We go to a grand final that year. Ice's similar. This is obviously
He's
weren't
knocking
coming,
on the door, man. He's knocking on the door of doing exactly that.
Obviously, we weren't coming last after round 12. But you said it before, there would have been some times there, I reckon, for himself. I know that he had a bit of a niggling injury through those periods as well. He wasn't really playing up to his standards. But in the last 8 weeks, he's grown another leg and found himself again. And it's kind of the similar story to myself. Like, He's one game away from playing a grand final in his first year, taking an opportunity to go to a strong club like the Penrith Panthers, and maybe gets to play in a grand final with some of the elite players of the game, especially that Penrith Panthers team. They could be in, what's that, 5?
Yeah.
Five going for, are they going for 5 grand finals?
They're going for 5 grand final wins, but they're going for their 6th grand final appearance in a row.
So there's some elite players in that space, and Isaiah Ice finds himself in a similar position to what I was. That's why I can resonate with Ice in his journey and what he's done. And I know Ice personally. And I know that watch his finals game, the last couple of games, he's played a big key role against the Warriors, and also on the weekend as well against the Dogs. I thought he comes on off the bench, makes an impact. You can play him in the middle of the park, you can play him on the edge. He's a good player, and he's a Kiwi player, and he's going to be one game away from playing in grand final with a strong club who know how to win these finals games. Their run, Goran, you can say it's an easy run. You still got to win them. Was it a masterstroke that Ivan Cleary rested 16 players and the media were blowing up and fans saying they couldn't go and see the best players, they spent tickets. And then, again, there was a couple of more players rested the following week. So they seem to have found themselves in a great position to be competing for this game. And I still think they've got more to give. I think they're pretty relaxed. They know their game style. They know it holds up in big games because they've played in these games before. They know they can get to a grand final. There's one team stopping them in their ways, the Brisbane Broncos, who, man, when you think about this game, could be anything. Yeah. It could be anything. And if the Penrith Panthers get there, Ice is going to play a big part of that as well. Nathan Cleary's going to play a big part. Their team's going to be playing a big part because they know what finals football's about.
Yeah, I'm just wrapped for the Iceman because after 2.5 years of undesirable results, to finally get the payoff and to experience that feeling of winning on the regular, like he thoroughly deserves it after what he's been through. So, yeah, and the way that he has contributed to the side, whether he's off the bench, he's played pretty much every position in the forward pack bar hooker, and he's made every appearance. He's been bloody good. So yeah. Hats off to Isaiah Papali'i. And he comes up against, as you say, this Brisbane Broncos side this week. And they're almost a complete unknown because on their day, I reckon they're world beaters. But they are mercurial, right? They're sort of up and down. They're rocks and diamonds, but more diamonds than rocks recently. And the guy at the helm, the puppet master pulling the strings, is the one who put 30 points on the Australians a couple of years ago at the helm of the Kiwis. He guided New South Wales to an Origin win last year. He's Michael Maguire, a guy who you know pretty well, who has been under fire. He's been under the pump as recently as, May or June this year, when the Broncos weren't getting results and they were questioning whether they shouldn't have got rid of Kevy Walters. They were questioning his training methods, saying that the players look fatigued. Is he pushing them too hard? And look at them now. They are 80 minutes away from a grand final appearance. In recent times, Madge has been, I don't know, it's almost like he's got the Midas touch. Another guy that you know really well, another guy that you've worked with closely. Are all the criticisms of Michael Maguire fair?
Man, if there's any job besides obviously if you're an Aussie coach, New South Wales being obviously a New South Wales coach, if there's any other job in NRL as an NRL coach you want to take, it's the Brisbane Broncos. A strong club, massive fan base and supporter base, backed by a lot of good people. And when you look at their roster, most probably the most exciting roster in the competition. Like they got young, athletic, fast, exciting, 1 to 17 on the field. They play football. This year obviously they've worked hard. So Madge has fell into a club that's a successful club in itself. The club's successful. They have 35,000 members. So every Thursday and Friday night, again, that's why they get to play Thursday and Friday night. They draw in 35,000 people to watch their Broncos go around on Suncorp Stadium. The best stadium, I reckon, to play any game when it comes to rugby league. And then you hear all, obviously, these conversations. And I think I may have said it last year on our first stuff of our podcast that, man, they're going to be in for a rude shock. He is a tough taskmaster when it comes to what he wants. His pre-seasons will be grueling. His army camps will be just as bad. His want and his desire for his players to be the best they can by pushing them to the limits to find out who they are will be tested every single day in pre-season. And we heard that pretty much after I reckon December of the first year of preseason, and they hadn't even got to Christmas yet. So that was only the first half of preseason. But if you think about the Brisbane Broncos, the year they had before Madge Maguire, all they needed was a little bit of a kick up the bum. They needed a kick up the bum. I think they would have been moving around Brisbane like they were who they were, you know what I mean? Without having anyone hold them accountable. Madge comes in, we know what he's done, and he's turned this team into not only having all those attributes that I spoke about, but a work ethic, a want and a desire to look after each other, a team that plays everything, doesn't take a backward step, lives in the moment. Reece Walsh, for example, backs their skill, and he's a coach that holds people accountable. We saw that with Gamut Shibasaki. He drives a standard. He lives the standard. He drives a culture. And this is where they've got to through having his mindset and his mentality around shaping these players. I'm going to be honest, Goran, though, but I don't know, actually. No, it's not that I don't think. I don't know how this works moving forward after this year. Because can you do that consistently year after year where you drive these players as hard as you can to get the same result and the same wins that they need to be able to stay consistent playing football? Because we've seen what happened at at the West Tigers, for example, a lot of complaints similar to the Broncos. There's a lot of complaints coming out there that they were training too hard. Their wrestle sessions, again, similar to the South Sydney, but he took South Sydney to a grand final. So I don't know if he can continue to keep doing that. Maybe he needs to adjust a few things, but he's been successful international level, Origin level, and he's again one game away from taking them back to a grand final. So you can't knock the man for what he's done, and I guess he's put them in the best position this year to compete on the big stage when it comes to the grand final.
Yeah, and I look at the Broncos and I sort of buddy them up with the Warriors. Now the Warriors, as we all know by now, played half a season without Luke Metcalf, and when Luke Metcalf went down injured, it was basically the death knell for the Warriors. They're not going to win a grand final. Basically, it's not our year. Now, Michael Maguire went through the first half of the season without one of his first choice halves in Ezra Mam. We don't need to talk about why Ezra Mam wasn't there, but he didn't have him available. And so he was able to put together halves combinations week in, week out, whether it was Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt, or, Ben Hunt's been popping around here, there and everywhere, whether it's hooker, 5'8" or halfback. And he still managed to get the Broncos into the top four, and he's still got the Broncos 80 minutes away from a grand final. So I guess that just goes to show he's used the right guys in the right positions when it was needed most, even though he didn't have Ezra Mam. Now, when it comes to the game this weekend, I'm really intrigued to see what happens out on the Brisbane Broncos right edge, because even though the Bulldogs lost to the Panthers in week 2 of the finals, I think between Lockie Galvin and Preston, they found something on that left-hand side of the Penrith Panthers in defence between Blaise Talangi and Casey McLean that they were able to take advantage of. And when I think about the Brisbane Broncos right edge attack, and you've got Jordan Riki, and you've got the wrecking ball that is Katoni Staggs, surely Michael Maguire is going to be aiming up a lot of attack down that side of the field with Reece Walsh wrapping around.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments in that game with, Preston and the way he scored those tries. They look pretty soft and easy. Yes, he runs an awesome line. You've got to be able to get to the right field position to be able to execute those plays. But at the same time, it exposed, I guess, a little bit of a chink in the armour of the Penrith Panthers. If you can mix up either running Katoni Staggs on a block play at the front and having Jordan Riki at the back, which people do, or Jordan Riki in the front, Katoni at the back. They're both strong carriers of the ball. So yeah. I think this game's going to be enormous. There's some great talent on the field. There's opportunities for both teams to strike. And, like I said earlier, Penrith will be primed. But there is a little bit of a chink there. But again, you're gonna have to expose that. You're gonna have to take them into the deep waters, Penrith Panthers, because they know exactly what to do in these games. They know their game style off the back of their head, and they got a Brisbane Broncos team that are coming after them, well rested, players ready to go. Yes, the one person I do feel sorry for, Goran, is Billy Walters. I think you missed him. He was the other person that's jumped around and played in the halves and hooker as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's been a key. Him and Ben Hunt have most probably been the key to the Broncos when those two halves were being out. They missed, obviously, Ezra Mann, and then obviously Adam Reynolds having not played too many games this year. Very lucky to pick up someone like Ben Hunt through the off-season. And then obviously with Billy Walters turning into a 6 for them and doing what they've done alongside Reece Walsh, have been enormous. So there's some strike power all over the field. And this game will be a cracker, I reckon. This will be the game.
These 4 teams that remain are trying to get to a grand final, something that the Warriors reserve grade team has already done. This coming Sunday at CommBank Stadium, they go 1-on-1 with the Dragons, a team that they have beaten, drawn with, and been defeated by this season. And the loss came just 2 weeks ago. When I look at this, I think, geez, the Warriors, they, as a club, as a whole, aren't they in a great space when you've got the first grade side returning to finals footy for the first time in a while, and the reserve grade side was so far ahead of the rest of the pack. It was absolutely mental how good they went. They were 11 competition points better than the Dragons in second spot. Their points differential, mate, was 411 to the good. And I think the next best was the Canberra Raiders in fifth with 122. That's how far ahead of the competition they were. And when they go into a grand final this week, they've got 11 of their squad who have NRL first grade experience. They've played 3 reserve grade finals before, haven't won one. This has to be their best opportunity to do it. And I want to make special mention of a guy who's been around the club since 2014, and he plays his final game as a Warrior in a grand final, and that's Iulio Bunty Afoa. And he in 2014 he was part of the NYC team that went all the way in a grand final. How incredible would it be for him to bookend his Warriors career in another grand final winning effort?
Man, Bunty's been, I guess, an icon for the Warriors. The fans love a back fence Bunty. That's all he's been known for, is carries off the back fence, and he's been good at it. He's built a bit of a fan club around it. This Warriors reserve grade team has been enormous this year, Goran. And I guess when you think about your first grade team, the team that helps you the most get you to where you need to get to in finals football is your reserve grade team. Without those guys every single day driving you to be better or pushing you, challenging you when you do opposed sessions, you don't get to where you get to. They've been the most consistent. I've got them winning this game pretty comfortably on the weekend. It'll be their first one. They'll be first one. And I think the last one they got in there was 2011 too. So the Warriors made the grand final that year. So history says, I reckon this year the Warriors get this one. Obviously having those guys back into the team, Tanner Stowers come back in there. There was, who else came back from? They had a lot of... Ali Lautawa. He's back playing as well. It's awesome. There's been much talk from us anyway, or from myself, saying that he's got X factor about him. So Tanner Boyd was back on the field. So they've got a team that can compete and win this competition, and it just shows the consistency that they've been playing at this year, but also the depth that the club has. Taine Tuopiki at the back, got some young aspiring athletes throughout their team. It's been a huge year for the Warriors, and a successful one, I think, both with NRL and then obviously with the New South Wales Cup playing in the grand final at Combank against a Dragons team that come second, who they obviously drew to and then lost to the week before. So, or the 2 weeks ago. So I'm excited for this one. I'll be tuning in. Going obviously for all the Warriors boys. Got obviously Warriors hold a close part in my heart, and a lot of those boys do too. And for all our Warriors fans that watching, it'll be a great game. I think the Warriors will get this done.
Last week, Blairy, we were a little bit surprised that Erin Clark didn't pick up the Simon Mannering medal, and it was Roger Tuivasa-Sheck who did for 2025. But a gong for Erin a week later, which is the fact that he's been named in the RLPA Players' Dream Team of the season of 2025. And there were actually 3 Warriors nominated for this. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was nominated as a winger, Leka Halasima as a back rower as well. But it was Erin Clark who got the nod. Another Kiwi in the mix as well, Joe Tapine as a prop. So awesome to see Kiwis involved in this. But Erin Clark's selection to this team, it just underlines and underscores how good he was in season 2025, especially when, well, 2 things, mate, 2 reasons. He's edged out representative players and some of the best in the game in the likes of Isaiah Yeo and Tino Fa'asua-Maliawi, who play lock, and also the fact that it's voted on by your peers. The players that you run up against week after week have said Erin Clark was the best lock in the NRL, bar none, in season 2025. Now, tell us how cool is that to be acknowledged by your peers?
Well, I think as a player, not only your team peers, it just shows, I guess, the respect that you have within the group. But also, it's a respect thing in the game now because it's the players that you play against week in, week out that have voted for you. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. Sometimes it's bigger than the biggest medal that you can win, because knowing that every time you go out on the field, that these players have voted for you because they feel that you are the best person in those positions. And you mentioned a couple of those names as locks. There's world-class players in there. There's internationals.
No doubt.
Yeah. They're international players. Erin's played, he's debuted for New Zealand last year. You know what I mean? And I guess from where, we said it last week, where Erin Clark's come from and where he was with his rugby league career last year to where he is today, he's earned the respect of his peers through his actions and his form throughout the 2025 season. So it's a huge accolade to be voted by your peers. And you saw, obviously, Joseph Tapine in there, who I think is one of the best front rowers in the competition. But then you add someone like Erin Clark, who we thought was enormous for the Warriors this year and was edged out by Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. But to be voted by your peers, Goran, that one's held up pretty high when it comes to rugby league.
So with that being said, he's got to be a shoo-in for the Kiwis. He's your starting 13, isn't he?
Oh, I think he'll be in the Kiwi squad, Goran. I think he'll be in the Kiwi squad. There's some good contenders.
Blairy, if he's in the RLPA Players Dream Team as the lock of the year, surely
you'll have to
he's got to be your starting lock, mate.
You'll have to talk to the coach. So in the past,
give us an exclusive here, mate.
I'll just put this in the past. Joseph Tapine has played as the lock for New Zealand in the past, and he was also in the dream team. So I think Erin Clark will definitely be a big part of the Pacific Championship for sure. Whether he's going to be a lock, it all depends on the style of football that Stacey Jones wants to play.
Okay, all right. Sorry, Erin. I tried, mate. I tried to get it out of him. You'll just have to wait a couple of more weeks. Hey, before we get into Betcha This Happens for the third week of the NRL finals, I want to delve into the mailbag. I don't think we've done this before on League of Our Own, but last week we were talking about Andrew Webster's comments when he exited the competition this year at the hands of the Panthers, and he said, we need a final ingredient to take us to the promised land, to make sure that we are challenging for the NRL Premiership. You said, look, I think we need a strike centre or a winger with speed, and we put it out on the socials, and the fans, the viewers, the people, they responded, and I was quite intrigued to see what they thought was required for the Warriors, and a lot of them mentioned they need a fullback, and they mentioned someone either like Kalen Ponga or Kalen Ponga himself, or somebody like Joey Manu, who look, he's playing rugby, and I don't think he's going to be coming back to the NRL anytime soon, unless of course you've got some scoop that you want to share with us right here, right now.
No, I don't.
And I thought that was quite intriguing because Warriors fans are pretty well versed with how Coach Webster sets up this team, and it usually starts with Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad in the one jersey. Yet the fans are saying that's the position that needs to change in order for the Warriors to elevate themselves. What did you make of that?
Yeah, it's I definitely would persist with Taine Tuopiki as the future. Obviously, we all know.
But is the future in March of 2026, or is it something that happens after that?
Do you want to win a competition next year?
I'd like to see that.
Then you have to think big. You have to go after whatever you need. And if the fans, I have obviously got a different opinion to the fans. We all got our own opinions, and it was interesting to see that they all think that they needed a fullback. I'll toss up a left field one, Goran. I'll toss up a left field one.
All right.
I've seen Jonah Pezet's name being tossed around on loan, right? So the Storm aren't going to let him go, but in front of him is Cameron Munster and Jahrome Hughes. They said if Jahrome Hughes signs and extends his contract, Pezet will leave. At the moment, because the Bears aren't coming until 27? And I think Jonah Pezet and Cameron Munster are with the same agent. So I think the thought may be for Jonah Pezet to get loaned out to a club, and then when 2027 comes around, maybe Cameron Munster heads to the Bears, Pezet goes back to the Storm, and he pairs up with Jahrome Hughes. So what I was thinking, I saw the Bunnies turn him down as a loan. It's only speculation. It's only media. I don't know if that's true or not. I think the Titans were maybe part of the conversation as well. But I think there'd be a few other clubs that would be interested in taking Jonah Pezet. So I'm thinking this is a left field one. We toss this one up.
You're not playing him at fullback, are you?
No, not going to play Jonah Pezet. But if you're thinking about 2026 and we want to win a competition, there's going to have to be some people that are going to have to make some sacrifices for the team, the greater good of the team, to win a grand final. I'm saying Luke Metcalf, Jonah Pezet and a half. He's on a loan deal.
Right.
He's on a loan deal. How you get the loan deal across, there may be some money involved. I don't know how that works. But what I think is a trade-off is you chuck in a couple of your future back rowers, because they got some good back rowers coming through.
Not Lecker.
I wouldn't get rid of Lecker, and I don't think that would work. But someone like Jacob Laban and Kailis Fatialofa, who's playing in the New South Wales Cup finals, I think if you trade them off for those two, you take Pezet for a year, you send them off for some development at the Melbourne Storm. How good would that be for starters? Yeah. Two of your greatest prospects coming through are going to get coached down at the Melbourne Storm for a year. You send them off. The Warriors go and win a competition with these two halves, because I think they have a lot of the other things there already. We said if Luke Metcalf plays this season, they're in the shop window for playing a grand final. You got Luke Metcalf, you add Jonah Pezet in there, you send your two prospects off to Melbourne to get some development for a year, win the grand final in 2026, bring him back, Pezet back to Melbourne 2027, Cameron Munster straight to the Bears. Bob's your uncle, you're cheering, you got a grand final.
All right.
That's a theory.
The world according to Adam Blair.
It's a theory, just chucking it out there, because you've got to find ways to win a competition. And if there's an opportunity to have someone like him, and there's a way you can actually loan it off, I think what better way?
Okay.
You've got a couple of good back rowers there now. Obviously, Lekker's there, Marata's playing there, and these two guys are up and comers, who I think are talented kids. Talented players.
Okay, so a few things. The Melbourne Storm haven't been scared of a loan deal before, because we've seen Harry Grant go out to the Tigers and then come back, right? So that's one. Two would be, holy shit, mate, how many halves do you want for the Warriors next year? Because you chuck Pezet in the mix with Luke Metcalf, and then you've still got Chanel Harris-Tavita, Tamaire Martin, Tanner Boyd, Jet Cleary. So maybe some people are going to be very upset about their lack of opportunity. Three, I really like the idea of sending especially somebody like Jacob Laban over to the Melbourne Storm system, because I look at Eliesa Katoa, who is a former Warrior himself, and how incredible he has become under the tutelage and under the incredible coaching of Craig Bellamy. I would not be opposed to that at all, especially as, they're well served for back rowers at the Warriors, I think. It's certainly left field thinking. If it comes off, mate, I'm going to think that you've got like the inside line to Craig Bellamy, mate. If this actually happens and Jonah Pezet heads to the Warriors for a year, mate, you've more than got your ear to the ground. You've like orchestrated this deal.
It's it most probably won't come off Goran, but I'm you got to think big picture. Yes, you said it. There's going to be some players offside, but at the end of the
There's going
day,
to be some players not doing anything.
What's your whole goal as an NRL team? Is it just
Win the premiership?
Is to win a premiership. So you've got to do sometimes whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. And if it doesn't cost you much, there's another obviously a thing in there. If it doesn't cost you much and you get a couple of good back rowers getting developed down there, and if it all goes to fruition and Peasant is there and you keep them both on the field, keep Peasant and Metcalf on the field, man, this could be something. This could brew something up, I think. Because, yes, they've got some talent coming through. Yes, there's a lot of halves there as well. I get it. But I'm just chucking this one out there, throwing it out. It's another one for the fans to think about, and maybe no one's thought about it. Maybe it's an opportunity to just start having to think about these kind of things. Also, there's a back rower that sits on the bench for the Sharks that may want to go to New Zealand.
Is
they
that
may want
right?
to go to New Zealand. I don't know. He's sitting on the bench. He's good enough to be starting. Otherwise, if he doesn't go to New Zealand, I'm telling you what, I'm calling up the Newcastle Knights and saying, hey, there's an international back rower sitting on the bench for the Sharks. Man, maybe float him a little line and just see what he's doing. Just putting it all out there too. That out there as well.
Agent Adam Blair at work for the
New
Zealand Warriors. Okay, Blairy, it's time for Betcha This Happens. Week 3 of the NRL finals. 2 games, as we know, and they're playing for a spot in the grand final. We'll do something similar to what we did last week, because that went so well. A little bit of a tweak. I don't think I'm going to do margins, because that's way too hard for me and my tiny brain. So let's start off with Melbourne Storm and the Cronulla Sharks. Storm paying $1.38. They are the favourite. The Sharks, $3.05. Going to start off with the anytime try scorers first. I believe that Eliesa Katoa, who we've raved about, he's going to benefit from either a kick or a short ball from Jahrome Hughes should he play. Eliesa Katoa is paying $2.50 for an anytime try scorer bet. So I'll go on him. And then because Ronaldo Mulitalo came good for us last week, I reckon he scores again I think he scores again back in Kiwi. Ronaldo Mulitalo paying $2.15 for any time try scorer. Let's get on that. And then when it comes to the game itself, Melbourne Storm to win, paying $1.38. I'm getting on that. What do you make of those 3 bets, mate?
Yeah, solid Goran. I definitely think, and we spoke about it in the podcast, obviously, I think the 2 teams, well, especially the team that's rested, is going to be the one that most probably gets this one. And you've backed it.
That's what I'm here for, mate. Now let's go to the Brisbane Broncos and the Penrith Panthers. Anytime try scorers for this one, I'm going the plumber, Reece Walsh. Honestly, that was an inspired performance from him a couple of weeks ago against the Canberra Raiders. Okay, the headbutt wasn't great, but what he did when he came back on the field, when the game was almost gone, he turned it on its head. Reece Walsh to score is paying $2.10, so we'll get into that. And then I reckon Staggs, as we spoke about earlier, the right edge attack up against Blaze Talangi, Casey McLean, they might have a field day if things go their way. So Staggs is paying $2.60 anytime try scorer. When it comes to the match, well, I feel like my try scorers have given it away. I think the Penrith Panthers run comes to an end. They're paying $1.65, but I'm going the Brisbane Broncos, who are paying $2.25 at home, Blairy.
Wow. Well, I'm going to drink to that anyway. Out of it. And I think, again, saying on the back of the well-rested team, always hard to go against a Penrith Panthers team that just know how to get things done this time of the year. But the team that's rested with the energy that the Brisbane Broncos play with, and you said it, Reece Walsh, the plumber, I think they'll get the job done.
That selection is paying $42.28. We'll put $5 on that. and will potentially earn $211.40. Of course, bet responsibly, R18 when using the Betcha app. Blairy, we're almost at the finish line in terms of the NRL, but don't worry, League of Our Own will keep going through the Pacific Championship as well. But man, we are getting to the pointy end of the NRL, and next week we'll be previewing a grand final, man. How good's that?
It's awesome to continue to be able to give the voice of rugby league to our fans, our audience, people that listen, the people that watch us, whether it's Warriors or Kiwi players in the game, or whether it's just the rugby league in general. It's an awesome time of the year to be still talking. The sun is out, it's shining, rugby league's growing, and it's the best game in the world, leading into obviously the biggest game before the grand final. And yes, like you said it, man, it doesn't stop there for us. We will continue to do this through the Pacific Champs as well. So still excited, Goran. Love what we do, man, and thank you for everything that you do, and all our fans for tuning in and supporting us.